Okay, flock discussion. I think this is Mayor's updates, right?
There's updates.
Yes.
Well,
Mayor Lavender, you could start this one off.
I'll take that over. I think my council is a little different than some of yours. And so at our last meeting, it was the last meeting, right? 2 meetings ago.
It was the 10th of November.
Yeah. We had, let me back up a little further. We received a lengthy email with attachments from a resident earlier this fall. Calling into, and it was sent to, when I say we, I mean the city council and staff. And it was sent by a Shorewood resident, really questioning a lot of issues behind the flock system. And at the request of our council, if several of the council members request an item be put on a later agenda for a further discussion, it will be. And our council requested that we have a lengthy discussion about flock, that we invite the chief and Laura to come and give their perspective on flock, that we invite our city prosecutor to give her perspective, and chief also included and invited the national, communications rep for the flock system. And the discussion went very long and very in-depth, very, and it's not over. So our city council is now wanting to discuss this again. We've been told we have one camera in Shorewood.
Correct.
And I think the tenor of the Shorewood City Council is possibly to remove that camera. And it will not, if that's a motion in a second, it will not be a unanimous support. Because I have a feeling I'm in the minority that I support the flock camera. I think our prosecutor summed it up the best when she was being drilled by counsel, asking things along the line of, does this help you win cases? And the reality is it gives the prosecutor potentially more evidence to bring a case to fruition that maybe there's not enough evidence to even bring charges against someone. It gives the case, if they decide to bring charges against a person, more strength to possibly see it to either a guilty verdict or a plea. And I agree with that, but my counsel is concerned about invasion of privacy issues, about human rights violations, about the data being given to ICE. So a lot of social issues on top of budgetary. So the amount of the flock, was it 12 grand, right?
That was the cost.
So Shorewood's cost is roughly 6 grand. And I don't know, even if Shorewood would agree with a non-unanimous vote to yank that out of our city, then it becomes an issue of, do we pay for this or not? And, Mark and I have pulled out the joint powers agreement, and I'm concerned the implications this would have, potentially all the way to reverting to last year's budget. Because to pass the budget, we need the 4 cities to unanimously pass something. And there's a possibility it could be pulled out as a line item, but I think that's a bad precedent. Just because one council doesn't approve of something, to allow them to pull it out of a budget. So I wanted to let this board know what has gone down in our city at the council level. And I think the chief did an excellent job. I think the prosecutor did an excellent job. And the individual zooming in on behalf of Flock did a great job. And I think the next time this comes up again, it's going to be another hour-long discussion. I just don't see this I don't see it going away quickly. I think my council has a lot of concerns. And they are concerns of their own, but they are also concerns that are being voiced within my community. By how many people? I don't think a lot, but I think the people who are voicing it are loud. And they have willing ears who are hearing. That is the job of the council, to hear their residents. So I wanted to bring this up and let this board know. My council is also very concerned that we passed this in the budget without the audit information. And the audit information won't be available till spring, early summer, is that right?
Spring, so
Spring.
the project started in early 2024, so the contract is due up January 6th. The audit isn't due until we're fully operational, which was April, May of 2024. So the audit is scheduled. We're in compliance with state statute, which is a biannual audit. I think there's some misconceptions by some of the people, and they're, Flock countered. They're CJIS compliant. If they weren't CJIS compliant, they wouldn't be permitted to operate in the state of Minnesota. So their data is not being sold, it's not being stolen, it's not being hacked. But that is the YouTube videos that were sent to the council. And nationwide, there's a lot of defund the police movements that have been advocating and attacking Flock. Flock, for what it is it's a camera that says, hey, look at this car because it picked up that the registered owner's license status is revoked, suspended, or it's a stolen car. In Shorewood, they had a hit on Shorewood's camera. It was a wanted vehicle in a theft case. Officers responded to the area, including Lieutenant O'Keefe. He went one way. Sergeant Robertson went into City Hall parking lot where they found the vehicle. They just had stolen items from a resident's vehicle. They fled. Lieutenant O'Keefe deployed spike strips, and the suspects bailed on foot. They recovered a number of stolen items and made 2 or 3 arrests. 3 arrests. So that's an example of what Flock does. We have 4 cameras. There's dozens in the West Metro. So other agencies are looking at adding them. MnDOT is now allowing them on state right-of-way, which wasn't an option when we implemented them. We're ending our 2-year grant, so that's why it's in the 2026 budget as a line item. So it's a good and effective tool. I understand if given the information that's been given, why people have concern, but it's misinformation. And that Flock has put out a lot of information that it's, false information is being spread out, and they're doing what they can, but there's no controlling what information goes out.
Whether it's misinformation, which I think it is, or not, that is the opinion that numerous of my council members have. And we will be voting on this in the future. So I think the amount of accurate information that was given to them didn't sway their opinions. Number one. Number two, we've gotten a couple more emails from residents to the tune of 3. That's all I've seen, of almost 8,000 people in our city. So,
One of yours, I mean, I have, just sharing with Christy, but one of them, I think your main resident, actually, I think, probably thanks all of us, but I have an email from that person today, basically going over what they had sent you back in the year.
yeah.
When I look at who got CC'd, I think we all got big letters.
Busy today, so I haven't.
The authors and the people that have those opinions are not going away, and they're not going to be swayed. And, yeah,
I mean, our council back in budget had some concerns, because first off, it came up as to what isn't.
yeah,
Because they saw it in the budget, so we talked about it. There was some concerns that, so a couple of them raised about many of that. I think Justin explained it really well. We did explain about how it was extremely helpful, helping to resolve a pretty serious case that we had in our town. And that pretty much, they're like, yep, no, but it's a minor price to pay for resolving an issue. So our council was pretty comfortable. I understand your position and all that, and I appreciate you bringing it forward.
and yet I made a point that we're discussing it, I would bring it to the chief and the board's attention tonight. And every council member was invited to attend because it's an open meeting.
So I can throw in a little bit too. So on the trail, this topic has, so it's being discussed statewide. I know it's going to be addressed at the legislative level. The way it kind of breaks down for me is that you kind of got local control, and there's kind of a more global perspective on this as well. So the entire state just needs to look at it. I think there's an opportunity potentially for us locally to simply implement policies on how we use them. And that would allow us to say we're not violating rights because there's which operate. I think some of the more global issues are, I know this is things that we're looking for at the department level, is that flock cameras are a very powerful tool, and it absorbs all kinds of information off of passive videos, bumper stickers, and all things like that. Well, that's not something we're taking a look at. But I think some of the concern is that if that data is being aggregated at the national level, and other agencies, state, some of the things that we discussed now, it's a state policy that prevents that sort of data being used. But I think if there was a significant concern, there's no reason that we couldn't put a policy in place to say yes, because I think it's a value-based tool, and I think it's been very helpful for the department to some very challenging things that allowed cases to be successfully tried and prosecuted because of it. They're serious. I don't think that necessarily the case of the flock camera did not exist. So it's just an additional tool. As long as it's like anything else, guns, they're extremely dangerous, right? But police officers have all kinds of rules around how they can utilize them and deploy them. And I see this flock camera as no different. So it's just simply developing policy around it and saying, this is how it's used. Then puts us in a position to adjust.
And we certainly do have, a robust policy on it, and we have to follow state statute. So, we're required for warrants for live tracking of vehicles, which means we have to subpoena our own department because we own the records for the flock data. So there's policy and rules, but there's some education and some transparency that might help, because we don't share with the federal government. We have agencies we share with in our state. We don't allow outside states access to our data. That data is not, you have to have a reason to try and search that data. It's not like the officers are just like, oh, well, so-and-so driving, this way. You have to have a criminal justice purpose for searching. just like any criminal justice information data.
So this would be a good question. Just for my clarification, because the concern that I had heard from someone was the fact that the data could potentially be housed in a national server. And if you were another law enforcement agency at the level and to subpoena it and extract the information completely apart.
There's certain things, you know, that is data that we could be served as a warrant or a subpoena for that information. They would have to get a warrant or a subpoena to get it from us under certain circumstances.
Subpoena decision maker on that. Judge, right?
Yeah, they'd have to be issued it, so they would have to apply for it. So the most common, I think, use of flock when during the search function of it is if you have a hit and run accident and you're looking for a black SUV, and you can search, you know, for black SUVs that have traveled, you know, approximately which direction from the crash location. That's one example. So for the manslaughter case that's still pending, you know, they knew the license plate and they were able to pinpoint and timeline the events of that evening. So I think I've looked up our data. I think in the 2 years we've only used the search function less than 24 times. For the most part, it's a passive system. Officers log into it, and if there's a status offense, stolen vehicle, they'll just they'll get a ping, and then they, okay, well, the person just drove by the Shorewood camera, and they're wanted for vehicle theft, or the vehicle's involved, you know. Then they have to drive to that area and try and find the vehicle. It just helps kind of point the officers in the direction of activity that we're supposed to be out doing, which is protecting our community. So
I would recommend if your councils start having concerns or issues, do what we did and have the chief come in, have Laura come in, have the flock rep there, have your prosecutor there, and just have them talk about it.
and if it's in the next few months, it'd be
Yeah.
Lieutenant O'Keefe who briefed him on, and then Detective Podobinski is the one that oversees our FLACA account.
You're providing us more as information, not anticipating that we will, as a board, do anything more as information.
I'm providing it as a heads up
Yeah.
of,
Giving us a warning.
of some storm clouds coming.
Yeah, I think she's,
And I'm also doing this because I told my council I would bring this concern to the board. I would bring this concern to the chief, and that we anticipate having another entire round with someone. So, am I missing anything?
No, I mean, I think, you know, I think there's a desire to understand how it works. And, you know, what are the intricacies, what are the controls? And so there's some desire to sort of daylight that. And I think there's probably there are a lot of things that people don't know. I mean, and why would they? Because it's kind of inside baseball. And so providing some information around that, and then having some conversations about, you know, what are the benefits, what are the potential risks. I mean, I think that's sort of the positive, you know, intent that is involved here. So, and you know, I think some cities have said, yep, this is a force multiplier, and we're gonna use it. I think other cities have tapped the brakes a little bit, maybe with some of these similar concerns. So I don't think, I mean, to Mayor Jennings' comments, I don't think the conversation is limited to the South Lake area. I think it's happening. So, and I don't know that it hurts to have the conversation.
anticipate in this upcoming session. It will be discussed, and if anything is passed, all municipalities.
And the city of Burnsville was set to engage with Flock, but after concerns of their council, they've put it on hold and they're discussing it as well. So it's nationwide, metro, I think it's happening. And so I think it's really hard to change people's opinion if they have misinformation. I think getting ahead of it and educating right from the forefront with the correct information is easier. So
I think in the political environment that we're in right now, that's making it very challenging, because let's be honest, probably 90% of the people have no idea. If you ask them about a flock camera, they're going to give you a blue screen. They have no idea what we're talking about.
right.
The 10% that do, it's because they've encountered one and they've had a problem because of one. And it was probably righteous, so.
So what I'm kind of hearing you suggest is that it's good for each council to maybe at least have a discussion, be aware of this. Is that another way of putting it, or am I totally wrong?
You know, I think every mayor, feel out your own councils.
Yeah, that's what
I'm not necessarily suggesting anything, but I'm just saying, I wanted to think Shorewood was unique with our demands, but I don't think we are. I think it's happening across the country, across the state, across the metro. So I think it's, yeah. So, yeah.
Also mix in the fact that there's AI involved, which is another just black box. Virtually everyone. So there's more discussion to be had on that, but at the same time, I think about the family that is on the receiving end of slaughter.
Right.
How does that impact them? It's probably extremely thankful that there's something provides additional information to support things.
I mean, proof beyond a reasonable doubt is such a high bar that if we can allow our cops and our prosecutors to have one more piece of evidence to reach that bar. Yeah, so you know where I stand, but I'm just letting everybody know.
I appreciate you bringing it forward and being candid with the group. I think that's important. And, we've all kind of heard the rumblings anyhow, but it's
And we're absolutely here to answer the questions way ahead of any council meeting or having something inflate to a bigger compiled issue. And if we don't know, which there could be a chance that we don't have the answer that people are looking for, we have a lot of lifelines to figure it out. And I mean, it's an opportunity then for us to be more educated on a product that we're using. But that's kind of, we all have tools in our own professions that we get shown how to use it, but we might not have the detailed knowledge, on the back end on specifics. But if that's going to help make people understand it and have it be something where they're more comfortable, like, we are fully prepared to do whatever we need to do, because it seems like it's a tool that we're interested in fighting to keep in use.
I guess not to put this too much, I'll make this my last comment, but I do studies where there was a significant decrease in crime going through the 2000s, and there was a significant correlation between decrease in crime and also the advent of just really inexpensive cameras still popping up everywhere. And while police might not have scenarios locked to rely on, you've got ringtone cameras that are out there, you've got all kinds of private businesses that have cameras. There's no reason that you couldn't see those institutions gather similar information, but you've also then compounded the amount of work that would take to get there. So you're essentially coming to the same conclusion. It's just I think it gets back down to political and AI. And Because the other thing is the cities could just put in a camera. And we also have to hire someone to go through that film. It's time, it takes resources.
Yeah, and I think, you know, the emails that I received from Mayor Lavity and the residents or concerned citizens, they don't have an issue with license plate readers and cameras. It's with the company Flock. So, you know, some agencies have license plate readers attached to their squad cars. The new in-car camera systems have built-in license plate readers into the camera system. And it's all the technology that's coming.
The system in my house has license plate readers on it. And that's been around for a long time.
So,
Those in Edina, if they've got license plate readers in the squads, right? Edina?
probably.
They do. My understanding is that, yeah, the license plate reader in the squad does the same thing as the flock. If it takes a hit, it just tells the officer right there. So it's
alert.
actually scanning. You think about the force multiplier, it's actually, it's actually doing flock on a big scale on the squads. I'm 99% sure I'm right that they have got that implemented.
And, you know, it's not something that's in the budget for this year and not something in the budget for next year, you know. But our in-car camera systems are obsolete, but with that change would be a change with body cameras and likely a different vendor because of just how data is being requested from the county attorney, the city attorneys. Everything's being done through a specific vendor and encrypted cloud. And we're kind of getting to the point where we're going to be forced into a direction, and it's going to be an expensive product because it's a good product, and that's what everyone's getting kind of pushed towards. Yeah. Well, I mean, antiquation, and like I said, the county attorneys, city attorneys are requiring we upload and share our data via this encrypted network. So we're not on that network. So we have to download the items from our cameras and then upload it to their system. It's increased our record staff time. It used to take 20 minutes per case, an hour and a half.
Sometimes a couple hours,
Depending on how much data.
Better integration.
And because that's the direction, you know, the county's going, that's the direction. So,
Process.
and like I said, there's
I'm sensing a budget increase.
like I said, it's going to be a big thing, but it also might be tied into the future record management system that we go with. There's a lot of things that, you know, we haven't budgeted for, prepared, and start putting money away for that we're going to have to figure out in the next couple of years. So, you know, hopefully, you know, I can push it off until I'm gone, but reality is probably not.
The next question then, and maybe we want to move on to another topic. Is there a benefit to going in with another police department or departments on like data management or whatever systems in terms of administering? So like you have like a consortium of departments basically shares a data management system, so you only need one person to manage it. And, you know what I'm saying, in these systems.
We're in that right now with the LMAC, and it's been going on for 2.5 years, but we finally got Hennepin County on board. So our data that's in our current record management system is all going to be moved, for all 13 agencies, going to be moved to this facility in that room over there. And then from there, we'll have control of our historic data, which has been an issue with the vendor. And then from there, we can start looking, and we're talking about looking as a group to what is in the future. Now, Hennepin County, they've signed a multi-million-dollar deal with Axon. Minnetonka has signed a big deal with Axon. You know, that's the direction we're all getting pushed, but there is some other options that are out there that we're all wanting to look at. So, I mean, we'll probably be starting to look in earnest at some point in the next year or so for what's the future. Our system, our record management system, was going to be end of life, and we were kind of doing the last minute crunch and trying to get our data the last 2.5 years, we've been trying to get our data, so we have these options. But they decided they weren't going to end a life it, so they're not developing it anymore. They're loosely maintaining it, so there is buying power with us as a consortium.
And I'm not just talking buying power, what I'm talking is management, like, you have one entity man it. Does that make sense? You don't have each department managing, you have one person managing the system or entity, because that way, what I'm saying, you concentrate your expert, does that make sense there? Because they're doing it every day, you get the benefit of the expertise, particularly for smaller departments like ourselves. That could be a different conversation.
Consolidation is, definitely something that everyone's looking at, especially in a lot of, smaller agencies are, it's hard to staff. So a lot of smaller agencies, especially up north, are going away, or they're combining with other. And
I'm looking more on the technology and just, one source, and actually one person managing it for multiple departments, because that person or entity has that, what I'm saying? And you're all working, you're kind of sharing the platform. Doesn't mean the department identities change, it's just you're taking advantage of, but we can talk about that another, that's what I was just asking. My guess is that it's a big learning curve, it's a big implementation curve, and taking advantage of some resources. Anyways, okay, can we beat that one to death? Any other mayor updates? So, do you have any further updates, Mayor Labadie?
No.
Mayor Jennings?
We have officially wrapped up our 2023